Hello, I'm Dr. Sean Ranganathan, and this is Yoga Philosophy. And this is the first of a four-part series that I decided to do on ethical theory. Of course, yoga ethics is an important part of the practice of yoga, but what most don't realize is that yoga as taught by Patanjali, is actually a basic ethical theory. And so it's not simply that there is a part of yoga that's yoga ethics that we should be studying, but all of yoga is importantly a contribution to our understanding of the ethical possibilities. So what I thought I would do is I would do a four-part series where I talked about four basic ethical theories, of which yoga is one, and I would set out the alternatives and then provide a yoga response to each of the alternatives. And then when we come to yoga, I will consider criticisms from the alternative ethical theories and then also identify what the yoga response would be. Okay. All right. So, so just said that. All right. So, uh, ethics, morality, dharma. So in English, right, we have these two words that are basically interchangeable: ethics, morality. Uh, Hegel draws a distinction between two terms in German that is translated into English respectively as ethics and morality. And ethics has a kind of Aristotelian vibe, and morality a Kantian vibe. But that's just like a Hegelian thing. And some people think there's some real important distinction between the terms. On the whole, philosophers don't draw such a distinction. These are words that we could use to talk about ethics or morality. They're basically synonyms. And the Indian term that does the same work is dharma. Okay, now what's the topic then that falls underneath ethics, morality, and dharma? It's the right or the good. So ethical theories are disagreements about the relationship between the right choice and the good outcome, right? And there are four basic possible combinations, right? There's lots of options, more than four, but there are four basic possible combinations. Okay, so the first is on this list that the good causes the right. Okay, this is virtue ethics. The next is that the good justifies the right. Don't worry, we will talk about all of these in detail. I'm just giving the overview. The good justifies the right. That's consequentialism. Then there's the right justifies the good. That's called deontology. And then the fourth is our favorite, I guess, as this is yoga philosophy. The right causes the good. Okay, and that's yoga. All right, so this video is on virtue ethics, and so I thought I would just identify some famous examples of virtue ethics. So in the Indian tradition, there's Jainism. Uh, Jainism is also a tradition that's very closely associated with yoga and meditation. The Jain ford makers practiced austerities and activities that we associate with meditation, but their view is a virtue ethical view, which is that there's a kind of goodness in all of us that gets covered up by our actions, and then when we uncover this goodness, it disposes us to do the right thing. Okay. In China, Taoism and probably definitely Confucius were virtue ethicists. In Europe, the famous examples are Plato and Aristotle. And then if you're a theist, if you believe that there is a God who's good, omnipotent, and all powerful, you too, I think, are also a virtue ethicist, because the whole idea behind theism is that uh, there is actually one supremely good individual, and it's their choices that happen to be the right thing, right? And so the right thing to do flows from the goodness of God, right? That's not a specifically religious theory. That's just virtue ethics, right? All virtue ethicists think that that the right thing to do flows from the goodness of the character of an individual. It's just that theists think that there's at least one supremely good individual, and if they're monotheists, they think there's only one. Okay, so the virtue ethicist holds, as I said, the proper thing to do is a function of or an outcome of good character. Virtue ethicists disagree about whether this is innate, right? So James seemed to think that deep down inside of all of us, if you take away all of this material accretion around us, there's a good individual in there who is naturally disposed to do the right thing. Okay, and then there's Plato, who thought in works, famous works like the Republic, that we're all born with a kind of uneven distribution of virtues and vices. The gods are virtuous, and humans are kind of like we're not so perfect. We're kind of part good, part kind of stupid, and then some are smarter than others. And so if virtue is an uneven, right? If it is not the case that it's universally uh, distributed, right? The virtue ethicist thinks that we have to go out and find a good leader to learn from. Otherwise, we will not know what to do, right? Because if what to do is the outcome or flows from a good character, if we don't have such a good character ourselves, we have to go find someone who does have that character and learn from them. Okay. Now, here's the yoga response. Okay. If right choices follow from a good character, then we will not be able to choose a good leader if our character is bad. And this is, I think, a problem, right? Like, let's say there's something wrong with my character, right? I'm simply not going to be able to choose a good leader to follow because I'm just going to make bad choices. That's what the theory says will happen. If our character is sufficiently good, right? Let's say if we're like a god or like an angel or something, then we don't need, or let's say a god, right? Let's say our character is sufficiently good, then we don't actually need a leader, right? But if it is not, we're out of But if our character is bad, like we're out of luck. We're not going to be in a position to actually make an informed choice because we're going to choose badly in accordance with our character. If our character is bad, then we have to work on improving it. This is a separate problem. But then a good outcome is being caused by the right choice, and that's yoga. So one of the curious things about some virtue ethicists is that they start talking about the importance of cultivating the virtues. There's this idea that you improve your strength, and you improve your strength by practice. But that's just yoga. The idea behind that is that you have to make the right choices, and then as a function of the right choices, you become good, right? So it's so the yoga response then is that yes, of course, that's true, but then that just means yoga's right. Thanks so much for watching this yoga philosophy video. I hope you enjoyed it. We've got 3 more in this series to follow. I'm excited to learn what you thought about this, and please do leave a comment below. Bye-bye.